Hi there, I'm Doc Sholo, and today we're going to talk about fertilization, implantation, and placentation. Okay, so fertilization, this happens when the sperm has entered the uterus and travels through the reproductive tract until reaching the oviduct. An egg, which was previously released from the ovary, travels into the same oviduct and allows for penetration and thus fertilized by the sperm. So when the process of cleavage begins in the zygote, it moves along the uterine tube and enters the uterus. This developing embryo, which is suspended in fluid within the tube, is moved by a combination of ciliary and muscular action and takes up to 3 days to reach the uterus in most mammals. The secretions of the maternal reproductive tract. This is what supplies the nutritional requirements of the conceptus. The zona pellucida, which protects the zygote from maternal cellular defenses, is immunologically inert because it does not express major histocompatibility complex antigens. As the embryo is enclosed within this intact zona pellucida, the implantation cannot occur as it moves through the uterine tube. Upon reaching the part of the uterus, the blastocyst hatches from the zona pellucida and remains free for a short period inside the uterine lumen. At this time, again, the secretions of the maternal uterus provide the nourishment. Subsequently, the developing embryo attaches to the uterine mucosa in a process known as implantation. Okay, so let's talk about implantation. This is the attachment of the developing embryo to the endometrium. This process, which occurs in 3 stages in domestic animals, is gradual, with the apposition of the blastocyst or the fetal membranes to the epithelium of the uterus, followed by adhesion. The final stage, this may involve firm attachment or actual invasion of the endometrium, which is actually dependent on the species. Okay, so before implantation, the embryo remains relatively independent of maternal influences and can be grown to the blastocyst stage in vitro. However, after implantation, maternal factors affect the survivability of the conceptus, with its survival depending on the hormonal as well as the immunological adaptation of the mother animal to pregnancy. Okay, so the intervals between fertilization and implantation in humans and different species of animals are different. Okay, so for rodents, it's 5 to 6 days, humans, 6 to 7 days, rabbits, 7 to 8 days, cats, 12 to 14 days, pigs, 12 to 16, dogs, 14 to 18, sheep, 14 to 18, cattle, 17 to 35, and horses, 17 to 56. Okay, so the placenta, this is the organ for physiological exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nutrients between the fetus and the mother animal. It acts both as a selective barrier and as an endocrine organ. Okay. Transient choriovitelline placenta forms in domestic mammals, which is replaced by a definitive chorioallantoic placenta. Okay, as mentioned, the choriovitelline, This is commonly found in marsupials. Chorioallantoic, this is the definitive form of placentation which occurs in most domestic animals. And it can also be preceded and coexist with a temporary choriovitelline placenta. Okay, so the types of chorioallantoic placenta based on morphology and the areas of chorionic villus attachment, we have four. That would be diffuse, cotyledonary, zonary, and discoidal. For diffuse, there is a uniform distribution of villi on the outer surface of the chorion. For cotyledonary, the chorionic villi are restricted to defined areas, referred to as cotyledons. Zonary, the chorionic villi, they are just confined to a girdle-like structure around the middle of the chorionic sac. And then for discoidal type, it's restricted to the disc-shaped areas on the chorionic sac. Okay, so here are the histological classification of placentation. We have epitheliochorial, synepitheliochorial, endotheliochorial, and hemochorial. First, the epitheliochorial. The endometrial epithelium is intact and opposed to the chorionic epithelium. Right? There is no mixing. Synepitheliochorial, electron microscopy studies found an attenuated layer of combined maternal and fetal epithelium in ruminants. Okay, unlike the previous knowledge that there is a removal of the uterine epithelium known as syndesmochorial. For endotheliochorial, the chorionic epithelium is in direct contact with the endometrial capillaries. And then for hemochorial, the chorionic epithelium comes in direct contact with maternal blood. Okay, so more classes of placentas. We have the non-deciduate or opposed. There is loose apposition. Separation is easy during the time of parturition with no damage to the uterine mucosa. For deciduate or conjoined, there is an intimate connection. Some maternal tissue is lost with the fetal tissue during birth. Okay, so for some animals, in pig, the placenta is described as diffuse, epitheliochorial, non-deciduate. In ruminants, it would be cotyledonary, synepitheliochorial, non-deciduate. Horses, that's diffuse, epitheliochorial, non-deciduate. Then dog and cat, zonary, endotheliochorial, and deciduate. Okay, so to help you remember the types of placentation, we've come up with a table. Okay, so for the diffuse type, we have your pigs and horses, followed by cotyledonary, cows and sheep. Zonary would be dogs and cats. Discoid, primates, humans, as well as rodents. Okay, if you've noticed, there is a similar pattern when it comes to epitheliochorial, synepitheliochorial, endotheliochorial, and hemochorial. Okay. First, let's start with epitheliochorial, found in pigs and horses. Synepitheliochorial in cows and sheep. Endotheliochorial in dogs and cats. And then hemochorial in primates, humans, and rodents. Okay, for deciduate, animals which have this include dogs, cats, primates, humans, as well as rodents. And then for non-deciduate, we have pigs, horses, cows, and sheep. Alright, that's it for fertilization, implantation, and placentation.